what if you have a craving for bread? How do you make sense of it? Some cravings for bread are probably normal, right? A lot of people have bread. It can't be all bad. But what if this relationship you have with bread is a little bit entangled, a little bit of attached? There's some emotional dependency on bread. There's why are you craving it in that sense? So in this video, I'm going to be covering some basic reasons you crave bread from a nutritional standpoint, as well as exploring the emotional side on a kind of a more superficial level. That'll be at the end. So just to recap, at Eating Enlightenment, by the way, we do explore food as a microcosm to life. Just like in yoga, what you practice on the yoga mat, you carry over to life. Well, at Eating Enlightenment, what you study in your food relationship, you learn these new ways of seeing reality and enlightenment, and you kind of shift your relationship with food and actually bring forth your authentic self. And while we're just talking about bread in this video, the same principles apply to other food cravings as well. So stay tuned and do like the video and subscribe if you are enjoying this content. It really helps me out. Now, let's just go into the cravings for bread. All right, so first of all, again, we all know bread is very, very common out there. So the majority of bread cravings are fine. Like, cravings get a bad rap in society, right? That, cravings are bad, but we got to realize that hunger is certainly a valid feeling, and hunger and craving are intimately tied together. So when you're craving food, we really have to distinguish, like, what type of craving is it? Is it in your stomach? Are you feeling something in your stomach? Because that's probably hunger, and that can perfectly normal why you might crave bread. Bread has lots of energy. It's got a lot of carbs. Yeah, you quickly digest it, so it turns into energy. Bread is part of our culture. It's everywhere. It oftentimes comes with nutrients, and it's pretty filling these days, especially if you're getting the sort of the whole grain, whole wheat, fibrous bread. It can really fill you up in a good way. It can really be actually an important part of your diet that you really should include and not be afraid of having it all. I work at an eating disorder center where oftentimes people are deathly afraid of carbs. They're deathly afraid of gaining weight. And for so many people who are binge eaters, paradoxically, these restrictive rules about not eating bread or just these rules around food, they actually end up causing weight gain in the end. So we'll talk a little bit more about these entanglements with food later on, but let's just keep covering the basic nutritional reasons people crave bread. And like we said, hunger, energy, your brain needs energy. Again, people who don't eat carbs, they're going to have a brain fog. A lot of them are. So bread is a valid place in your diet. And if you are craving bread, that's probably just why. You're hungry. There's nothing wrong with bread. And let's not think that hunger is a bad thing. However, of course, there are times, bread is one of the foods people binge on, right? It's so easy to just lather with peanut butter and butter and just binge on it. It's people binge on high calorie foods that are quick, and bread is one of them. Especially like pastries, the sugar breads, the plain white breads, these easily processed breads that just kind of have in the back of your pantry or something. So let's talk about what if you're craving this type of thing and your craving is weird. Your craving is causing you some issues in life. Let's look at some basic reasons you're craving bread. I mean, again, the most common reason, it's related to hunger, but it's really where you're disconnected from your body and you are in your head and maybe you're stressed as well. And so the result is that you don't eat for many hours during the day. You might be thinking a lot about weight gain, weight loss, etc. But for some reason, you're in your head, you're not in your body, and you got some, you're stressed. So you're busy, you're productive, you're burning your gas tank down. So you haven't eaten a few hours, maybe 5, 6 hours, 7. You're going, and this is a big trigger for binge eating, a weird, unstoppable craving for bread, because your survival brain is used to eating regularly and all this stress and no food, it actually thinks that it's dying. It thinks that it's in a dangerous situation. You got to remember that evolutionarily speaking, carbs were rare and starvation was high. You know, our ancestors died primarily of childbirth, they primarily died of hunger after that. So, hunger was this big evolutionary threat. And when you're hungry and you're stressed, the body is programmed to react to that. And so, if you're hungry, it's going to start saying you got to get food now. And what other thing besides these quick carbs, these bread and other things like the quick carbs. So it's the survival brain is a big reason. So you got to be properly, uh, fed. You gotta eat well. You gotta have protein and eat regularly and really take care of your body to where you're satisfied when you're eating. It's really important because that's how you hold back the survival brain. And then you know of course, you can eat just fine and still have a weird craving for bread, still struggle with binging. So it's not all nutrition. And that's where the eating enlightenment principles, where we look at intuitive eating, where we look at internal family systems, where we start looking at your childhood and uncovering sort of where these weird rules or thoughts or things that happen when you get triggered, when you lose control, like what's going on there. You journal first with cognitive behavioral therapy to catch the triggers. You gotta be able to catch the triggers before you kind of peel back some stuff. But when you get into this food and you really start to study your relationship with food, it is a lot like yoga, this mindfulness stuff, where you learn new ways of seeing your body and mind, and you really do shift your perspective, hence eating enlightenment, and you're a more authentic version of you that can come forward and actually eat intuitively without going crazy, without having to think, and just kind of how most people do it, you know. So anyways, so if you do have this weird entanglement, like there are resources down below. There's the free eating enlightenment journal app. We have this community that's growing. You can apply down below. I believe on the website there's like some free resources. There's a course, and so there's some resources out there. But just know that for the majority of people, bread cravings are fine. Like, bread cravings are fine. They're fine. Try to go whole wheat, do all the stuff you already know. But just bread cravings are fine. I know they get a bad rap, but overall they're fine. And yeah, those are my 2 cents on the matter. So thanks for listening. Please do like the video and subscribe. It really does help me out. So I appreciate your support in advance. And with that being said,